and knocking on the door of some records across parts of Michigan tonight. Sunshine 72 and upper 70s for Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
It's time for Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Now here's the voice of the Detroit Lions, Dan Miller.
Hey, what's up? Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have you here. Lions Review. Tough one we have to talk about tonight against the Chicago Bears in their opener, in which the Lions had a 17-point fourth quarter lead and then watched it slip away and then had a chance to win in the end and couldn't secure that. So they end up 0-1 now heading to Green Bay, which means things don't get any easier because all the Packers did was hang 43 on Minnesota. So let me bring in Mike O'Hara, who's seen enough of this that he can just make sense of all of it, and I will just bow to his expertise. Mike, go ahead.
Dan, just don't ask me if I've ever seen it before, because I'll have to go back to the 1980 Bears-Lions on Thanksgiving Day. I'll have to go back to the 1990 Washington football team, 17-point lead, Jeff Rutledge. Don't ask me to go back to 2019 in Arizona. Don't ask me, okay? Yeah, I've seen it before.
I did go back to Arizona yesterday during the game, and I did bring it up during the broadcast. And I said, remember, they were 24-6 up against the Cardinals and ended up tying that game. And it was like the worst feeling tie ever. And then yesterday it's 23-6. And, this is an ongoing problem. There's two ongoing problems here, Mike. One, you're not winning, period. Two, you're not winning games where you're right there in the fourth quarter, where you separate the pretenders from the contenders by making plays in the final quarter of a game.
And Dan, it's not just one unit. Now, I understand that they played the last 8 games of last season without Matthew Stafford. But the fact is, in the 12 games they lost, and you've heard this before, I'm going to repeat it now. In the 12 games they lost last season, they were outscored 117-59 in the fourth quarter. They weren't getting stops. They weren't scoring. And here, coming right out of the chute in 2020, they get outscored in the fourth quarter. Ring it up, 21-0.
Yeah, and it was, look, the Deandre Swift play is the one that obviously people talk about. I mean, it was, I've watched it a number of times, and I still, bless the kid. I feel for him. I don't know how he dropped that ball. It's right in his hands. It couldn't be a better throw. But look, I mean, sometimes people think this is lip service, but it's true. That wasn't the only play that lost the game. There were other plays in there where certainly they could have extended the drive, killed the clock, not given up a long pass for a touchdown, done a better job on any number of things defensively. I mean, there's so many other plays that contributed. That's glaring because it's out there and it's the final seconds and it's a potential game winner. But really, there's a lot of other things that they have to clean up coming out of this game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Dan. Look, you can't say he's not at fault. That's what you get paid to do. That's your job. But the way I wrote it in one of my upcoming columns on DetroitLions.com is that Deandre Swift did not catch the game-winning pass, but he did not lose the game. And I think there's a little difference there. Now, he could have won the game, but he didn't lose it.
Yeah, I mean, but no question. But you got to make that play, and
got to.
There's so many other things, and we'll talk to Matt Patricia about it. I had a chance to talk to him earlier. Matthew Stafford a little bit later in the show as well. But, Mike, just starting with the defense, being honest with you, I think they were a bit fortuitous that they'd only given up 6 points in the fourth quarter because Trubisky missed some touchdown passes that were there for him in that game.
Yeah, I think he missed one. I think it was in the second quarter, maybe going, I think it was to our left, to a Jimmy Graham 6'7" target. Really had just put the ball up. He'll catch it probably, and wasn't even close on it. And like you said, there were some others. But the point where I got really tightened up, look, I thought they had really taken command of the game with the touchdown at the end of the first half, and then come out 2 more possessions, touchdown, field goal.
Exactly what you want to do, by the way. Exactly what you want to do.
Could not, and they ran the clock perfectly at the end of the first half. Scored with, was it 5 seconds to go, 4 seconds to go? A really nifty little one yard run by Deandre Swift. And I thought they were in control of the game, but when that touchdown drive, we scored it right in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter on a long drive that began near the end of the third quarter. I thought, this doesn't look good. because they had injuries to cornerbacks. They were having trouble covering, and guys were running free. I just thought this doesn't look good. Didn't think they were going to lose, but I thought they were going to have to really sweat it.
But even with that, there were a couple of possessions there where, when you turn the corner and become the type of team that you want to be, you kill that clock. You find a way to get a couple of first downs, and you just kind of you just put your foot on their neck and they don't get up, and that's the way it goes. But it adds up to not good enough, which is the bottom line. Not good enough because you didn't win the game, and you got to figure out how to get it going against Green Bay coming up. So I think one of the things that stood out to me as well, Mike, problems stopping the run. That's another reason I think they were lucky to have only given up 6 points, because the Bears really controlled the ball on the ground early in that game, but it didn't translate to points, which I think is, there's a little bit of good fortune involved in that.
I would agree with you. I think it was 54 yards rushing in the first quarter, 140 something for the game. They got it going when they needed to get it going later in the game, and I heard somebody else say this morning, one of the analysts, and I agree with them, said, look, they don't get any penetration up front defensively. And that's something that Dan, that Matt Patricia has been harping on for a long time. They need interior guys who can move the center, the guard. And when you do that, you eliminate the ability of the running back to cut back. He can't, because there's too much trade. There are people, their bodies in the way. And so you cut the field in half. Didn't do that. They absolutely did not do that.
Well, you also make the quarterback uncomfortable when they want to throw,
Correct.
and they don't do enough of that. They had one sack yesterday. That was the sack fumble by Trey Flowers. This was a problem through last year, and we're certainly not going to pronounce it a given that it'll be a problem this year, but it is clearly something that is still a work in progress based on what we saw yesterday, and they're going to need to get better at it, because if you allow Aaron Rodgers to sit back there and just kind of pat the ball and goes through his progressions once, twice, you're going to be in trouble, because Rodgers can still find people, and if anybody's even open that much, it's going to be a problem.
And look who's coming up right now. Rodgers next week, Kyler Murray in 2 weeks, and then Drew Brees in 3 weeks, and then thank God for the bye.
Yeah. We don't know what the situation is for them at cornerback. That's going to be something to watch, because going into the game, they lost Okudah, then they lost Justin Coleman, then they lost Desmond Trufant. Just a rash of hamstring injuries with these guys. Just really, pervasive throughout the injury list is a bunch of hamstrings. You guess you have to chalk that up to what wasn't happening in the offseason and what didn't happen in the preseason. But it certainly leaves you shorthanded, and not a guy you want to be shorthanded against going into Green Bay against number 12.
No, you don't want to be shorthanded against any quarterback in the National Football League, but particularly Rodgers. I went on their website today just to listen to some of the quotes and all that, and look, he's on his game and he's ready to go too. He's got something to prove this year. I mean, that performance he got yesterday, 360 some yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, he does not look like he's over the hill. The old sheriff is back in town in the NFC North.
I think he wants Love to sit as long as he sat when he got drafted. I think he wants to make sure he's going to say, you can draft a quarterback all you want, but you're going to have to get me out of here with force, because I'm not taking myself out of here.
No, absolutely, and no reason to right now.
No. So I think defensively, still questions, Mike. Obviously, the fourth quarter was disappointing, and there were some troubling things early. So I think that remains a question. I think, you saw some good things offensively, and we'll expound upon some of those with Matthew Stafford and with the coach coming up. What stood out was probably just Adrian Peterson and the ability to run the ball once he was in there. Just a different look with his vision, man, and credit to the offensive line too. But, boy, he finds holes, and once he does, he gets through them.
And he likes to run the ball. He likes to muck it up. He likes tough football. Look, I think one thing's obvious with him. Look, he's only been here for a week, but we've seen him since 2007 because they're in the same division for a long time. That just seems to be the guy who just loves the game of football and everything that goes with it. The bus rides, the time in the locker room, the time in the tub, all of that stuff. He just seems to love the environment and just will do whatever he can to take that out on the field on Sunday as many times as he can and play as hard as he can till he can't play anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's doing right now, and clearly proved that he can still be a factor. We saw that in Washington the last 2 years, and I think what we saw in Washington the last 2 years was on display. I think at least 5 At last count, I think it would update 5 runs of 10 yards or more in that game yesterday.
And one thing,
That changes things, man. That makes the defense respect the run, which hasn't happened around here in quite some time.
no, absolutely, Dan. And another thing about him, he's 35 years old, turned 30. I think turned 35 in February or March or something like that. So he doesn't play like that. And going into the 2 Monday night games, he was tied for 4th in the league in rushing. Now, I don't think that's going to hold up for 16 games, but why not?
Well, we will see. They're going to keep giving it to him. I guarantee you that. And with production like that, they won't take it away from him. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. Head coach Matt Patricia on the other side. We're glad you're with us tonight. By the way, this chat with Mike O'Hara is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Experience full-service banking at Comerica Bank. Learn more at Comerica.com. It figures you'd be sponsored by something about money. It's just that makes perfect sense for you.
I could not agree with you more.
We'll take a break. Come right back. Matt Patricia on the other side. Stick with us on this edition of Lions Review.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Matthews going to work out of the gun. Bears have 3 men back on that goal line. Stafford's got it. 3-man rush for Chicago. Stafford loads and throws.
Yes!
Caught! No, he dropped it on you. No! Deandre Swift dropped it. It was a touchdown in his hands.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no.
Wow. Right in his hands. He couldn't have thrown a better throw. Right there.
Wow. Could you feel that, Mike?
Man, it sounded worse than it looked.
Oh, goodness, man.
Damn.
It's just funny in this league, Mike, how look, there still would have been things to worry about, but that changes the conversation if he makes that catch.
Changes everything.
So much
yeah.
different. So much different.
I think Stafford got off 11 plays in a minute 10 or whatever it was. And
Wow.
You're right, Dan. It changes absolutely everything.
Well, let's get to the head coach. This interview with Matt Patricia brought to you by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Asked him about the aftermath of this one. Look, a lot of emotion went into that. How do you make sure that your guys take an analytical approach to getting better and not let this kind of get inside their head?
That's a great question because I think it is an emotional one. We just got to make sure that it can be emotional. It can be emotional and it is analytical, but at some point you got to turn the page and those emotions, you got to pack them away and, you got to move forward. And I think that's something that, as football players and as coaches, we're just kind of programmed. We do that. We're obviously either, really happy about a Sunday performance or we're not. And honestly, once you get through Monday and you turn the page for the next opponent, whether you win or lose, whatever you did in the weekend doesn't matter as you push forward because you got to go ahead and do everything you can to win the next one. So, there is some emotion involved with it. We understand that. And, everyone wants to win and everyone's trying to, but certainly the, analysis and trying to improve and get better, that's the most important part of today. And, I think the guys understand that.
I think one of the reasons it's tough as well is you did a couple of things that you really hammer home well. Closed the first half, began the second half, really controlled the game in there, but it came down to closing after that as well.
Yeah, I thought really at the end of the half, I thought that was a great job there by the defense to kind of get, off the field in the 2-minute and then give the ball back to the offense and give them an opportunity to go down and score. So that was really good to see, and I thought we ran the ball well on offense. That was a positive. That's something that we know we can, we can use going forward. I think in controlling the overall game, we understand we got to play the run better on defense and we got to cover kicks. We had an opportunity there late in the game to, to cover a kick, and we let the ball get out to midfield. And certainly with a team with, like the Bears that have options, you don't want to give them a short field in that situation, and you want to try to make them drive the length of it. So things we can work on and things that we were doing well, but we definitely knew that, that fourth quarter, it was going to be a challenge. Just, none of our guys have played those total amounts of snaps, and we'd have to go out and execute and try to win the game. And, give credit to the Bears. They did a good job.
You mentioned the kicking game. Let me go there just on the heels of what you just talked about. It looked like in his first NFL game, Jack Fox did a nice job, didn't give up anything on punt returns to Cohen, who's terrific. It's a little more difficult for me to discern what you're asking him to do on kickoffs, but all in all, it looked like in his first game, he showed a very lively leg.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I thought he handled the pressure really well, even really – he holds for us too on the field goals and the PATs. I thought he did a good job of that. And, his first action out there, he's got a tremendous, talented leg. He does some great kicks. And I thought, especially with Cohen in the punt return game, being able to take him out, that's huge. Cohen's so dynamic and he's such a, a force back there. Certainly, from that standpoint, we know, we just got to be consistent going out there and handling those situations with Patterson because we know he's gonna take it out no matter how deep the kick is, and we just got to execute some better things in the coverage. But I thought Jack did a great job.
There were a couple times, back to the running game for just a second, Adrian Peterson had some big runs for you. I think at least 5 runs of 10 yards or more in the game. And a couple times it looked like you could see the effect of that on a couple of play action passes that Matthew threw, just the threat that he had posed to them in terms of running the game. That bodes well for an offense going forward.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's obviously hand in hand, the run game and the play action game. And honestly, a lot of that has to do with the offensive line too. just their pad level and the way they come off the ball. But certainly Adrian Peterson back in there running the ball hard, and ran the ball hard. And we had some run game in there, so that always helps. That always helps that situation.
Among the things that you're looking to work on, and talking to a couple of guys after the game, and listening to some of their comments, it seemed like they had success on the ground against you. It didn't really translate into points early in that game, but something to clean up going forward, because that's where your defense seems to start a lot of the times, making sure you have that thing tightened up.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they were running the ball, and we weren't really shored up in the middle of the defense early in the game. It took us a little while to settle some things down there, and it's just not a good feeling on defense when they can run the ball, and that they have dynamic players on the outside that get the ball vertical downfield in the passing game. So got to make sure you take care of that first.
What did you see as a difference in Trubisky early when you had things under control, and late when he was able to get hot? And how much did the injuries that you had piling up in the secondary affect what you wanted to do?
I definitely think, he got some confidence as the game went on, and certainly I thought, his receivers made some incredible catches. That's why they're just, they're as good as they are. Robinson, it was an unbelievable catch on the over route. I thought that was great, but he does those things, and you see him show up time in, time out. Miller had another really great catch on the sideline. So I think that just builds his confidence that he's going to be able to put the ball up there. His receivers, they're going to go up and make a play. And, even Jimmy Graham, he made a big play there in the end zone. So, give credit to those guys. They made those plays when they needed them.
Hey, final thing, Coach, before we let you go, just moving on. You got another divisional game coming up against Green Bay. Very quickly, you can get this thing moving in the right direction, because that's one of the teams that you understand when all is said and done, you're going to have to beat.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Coming out of the gate with 2 division games, we know that's going to be a big challenge for us, and that's a great team, and we got to go to Lambeau. So that's going to be really hard for us and a big challenge, but, we're ready to go to work and do the best we can when we get up there. We still know that it's early in the season, even though all these games are, critically important because we only have so many of them. But we do know that we're going to have to improve as the season goes, and that's going to be our focus from week to week, is just to get better.
And there he is, Lions head coach Matt Patricia, as they get set to try to come off this one and get ready for the next one. That'll be the key for them, is get ready to go against the Packers on Sunday. Will not be easy. And a couple things there, Mike, and I know, people won't probably tune in just to hear us talk about punters, but I love what I saw from Jack Fox. I really do. Look, I like punters with big legs. I'm not a fan of the 40-yard angle guy, which was a Lions specialty for a long time through most of the aughts before Sam got here. This kid showed a serious leg out there. I love what he did. It's because I like guys that can flip the field when you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and if you really catch one, excuse me, Dan, you're absolutely right. There was another thing I kind of looked at, and I was talking to Tim Twentyman about this. It's a really small part of the game, supposedly, but it's a big part when you don't do it right, and that was what kind of hands he had as a holder. That's vital between the snapper, the kicker, and then the punter, who's the holder in almost all cases. And he just looks smooth. I really made a concerted effort to watch him on every extra point and every field goal attempt, and he looked like he'd been doing it his whole life. So, good on that. Doesn't sound like a big deal. I don't think there's a statistical category in the daily stat sheets that come out on that, but it's something that's important to Matt Prater.
Yeah, over 49 yards a punt, and you're right. It is big for Prater. Yeah, it was good to see, and bodes well for some of those situations. Look, you don't need it till you need it, and when you need it, you better have it. And I can get you out of a position when you're backed up inside your own 20. If you can get them down there around their 30, that's a big, big difference in a game and a momentum swing. No,
absolutely. I thought, like the coach said, I thought the coverage was good. Cordell Patterson's in a different category, though.
He's just scary, Mike. He's just flat scary.
He's bringing it out 6 yards deep. He's bringing it out 9 yards deep. If you move back another 2 steps, he could have Orlowski'd and brought it out from 11.
You going to tell him you said that?
Yes.
Cordell Patterson has proven all he needs to with a 109-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So you realize wherever it is, he's going to bring it out. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Matthew Stafford. I had a chance to chat with him about the game, looking ahead a little bit to Green Bay as well and some of the late game situations. Matthew talked about those. So that's coming up on the other side. More thoughts on this game as well as we turn the page to Green Bay coming up. So stick with us. Much more coming up on this edition of Lions Review.
Fox
News, I'm Rich Dennison. Hurricane Sally's now a Category 2 storm with 100-mile-an-hour winds as it moves toward Louisiana and Mississippi with expected landfall early tomorrow.
We're going to get significant amounts of rain, and it's going to be a major water event no matter where it hits.
Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves' mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for both states. The World Health Organization warning of a rise in global coronavirus cases, recording the highest single-day increase in cases since the pandemic began.
308,000 cases were confirmed, with the biggest hikes in India, the U.S., and Brazil. Over 5,500 deaths were also reported, as WHO officials warn of an increase in deaths in Europe following a rise in cases here.
Fox's Greg Palcott in London. Coronavirus now blamed for more than 194,000 deaths in the U.S., with over 6.5 million confirmed cases. America is listening to Fox News.
Gratiot Avenue southbound between 14 Mile and Masonic, construction scheduled to block the two right lanes until 5 tomorrow morning. M10 The Lodge, both directions between McNichols and 7 Mile Road, the right lane closed due to road work through mid-October. I'm Peggy Hodge, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Boy, some fantastic weather unfolding for much of this week. Comfortable low humidity across Michigan. Nothing on the old weather radar today. And winds out of the north, low humidity. Our temperatures in the upper 60s this afternoon and well below average. Good 10 degrees colder than average. 48 degrees tonight. And knocking on the door some records across parts of Michigan tonight. Sunshine 72 and upper 70s for Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Trubisky on first down, takes the snap, wants to throw. Loads up, throws deep right side, wants Miller out there. Got him. Is he in the end zone? He is. Touchdown Bears. They've got the lead. Unbelievable. Beat Tony McRae on the play. Down the right sideline.
Now, Dan, can I say this? I've been giving number 10 a hard time today. He dropped the dime in there. Mitchell Trubisky dropped the dime in there that time.
He did. 21-zip. They outscored the Lions in the fourth quarter to win that one. Mike, what'd you think of football in Ford Field with no fans?
You know, I kind of forgot about it for most of the game. Once I was really into the game, it's just kind of the way I get. But I thought it was too sterile. I think they've got to find a way to pump it up now. I don't know if more cutouts or whatever that is, but I want more noise. I never thought I would say that.
Well, I don't think the cutouts make noise.
No, but you're right. Thank you very much. But no, I really haven't given it an awful lot of thought, but I think I'd like more noise. I really would.
Well, for me, I had the headset on calling the game, and there's noise in the headset. I got to tell you, really, look, I'd love for the fans to be in there, for 65,000 people to be screaming, but because I think there's crowd noise piped into my headset, it really didn't feel that different to me. It really didn't feel like they were playing in an empty stadium and that something massive was missing. I'd much rather have the fans, but I think as long as there's some noise in my headset, you're so locked in on the game that's really all you're thinking about.
Well, not everybody's wearing a headset, though. That's part of your gig.
I can get you one. Would you like one?
What is it, a signature model, a Dan Miller, extra wide?
$399.
Give me a dozen. But no, I understand what you're saying, but I just think just for the fan, for not the fans, but for the players and all that, I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point. I think for momentum and for players and things like that, I think it definitely makes a difference, which begs the question that I've asked, a couple people. I ask you, is there such a field as home field advantage anymore?
Well, probably because of the travel and just the familiarity with the surroundings and all that. But I think the momentum was coming from the Bears bench in the fourth quarter. They were into it. The Lions were quiet. I mean, quiet.
Yeah, well, needed a play here or a play there, and you might have gotten people a little bit more fired up. But it's kind of tough when those plays are not going your way, and that's certainly what the Bears had in the fourth quarter. And when a team's down like that, and all of a sudden you get a little sniff of the fact that you might be able to come back and you might be able to win the game, it's amazing how fired up you can get in those situations. But that's something that we'll talk about on the other side, is the fact that the Lions just have to make some plays and finish some things off. That's one of the things that I talked to Matthew Stafford about. And this is brought to you by Henry Ford Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions. It started just by asking Matthew, as he had some time to kind of digest that game and reflect upon it, what his thoughts were.
Plenty of missed opportunities, early in the game, middle of the game, late in the game. We had opportunities, weren't good enough on third down and short. Obviously, I can't turn the ball over in the fourth quarter like that. Just need to probably take a sack right there and keep the clock moving and let our guys punt it down there and give them a long field. So plenty of plays I wish I had back. I know there's a lot of guys feeling that way in the locker room, but just got to learn from it, move on, and get ready for Green Bay.
When you looked back at that interception that you just mentioned, do you look at it and say that's a window I probably shouldn't have tried to throw into?
Probably situationally, yeah. I thought I moved him enough and thought I could get it in there to Marv. He's a really good player and got a hand on it, made a nice play, and obviously they rallied around and picked it off. But situationally, yeah, I'd like to have that one back. Probably just, take a sack and like I said, let us punt it away and let our defense, have a long field.
One other play where you did take a sack situationally, which forced the field goal to be back beyond 50 yards in essence. Do you look at that and say, you know what, Hicks made a heck of a play, or I got to find some way to throw that one away?
Both. I got to find a way. It's on me. I'm the guy. I've got the ball in my hand. It's on me to make sure that we don't go backwards at that point. And, just need to turn it, kill that play earlier and throw it away quicker.
But you still had a chance to win the game, and you put the ball right on Deandre's hands. And look, those things happen, and you're one of the leaders on this team. I know you need him. So what's your message to him after that play? Because it was apparent how bad he felt.
Yeah, I just told him I have 100% confidence in him. He just needs to learn from it and go out there and trust himself every time he's out there and keep continuing trying to make plays. Everybody's going to have bad plays. And, that's a tough one. But at the same time, there are a lot of plays, like I said earlier, in that game that could have, made sure we weren't in that position to have to make a play at the end of the game to try and win it. But I was proud of the way our team fought all the way back. Gave ourselves a couple chances at it there late and just didn't come away with it.
On the positive side, the running game picked up, in particular when Adrian Peterson came in there. If you can do that, bring that balance, that's going to be a big boost in the long run.
Yeah, I thought he looked great. I thought our offensive line did a great job opening up some holes. Guys on the perimeter were blocking. AD was doing his thing. All the backs looked good to me. So I was excited handing the ball off and seeing some creases in the run game, and those guys were hitting it. So it was a positive for us for sure.
Hey, final thing, Matthew. Look, back to you being a leader on this team. So much emotion goes into an opener. You let a lead get away. There are a lot of things that can weigh heavily on you, but you can't let it. You got Green Bay coming up, another divisional game. How do you try to get the guys in the right mindset this week to move forward?
Yeah, I think, Green Bay will get your attention, attention quick. They played great on Sunday, scored a bunch of points and won. So we'll have our work cut out for us. It's easy to turn on the tape and look at those guys and realize, we better move on and get ready for this next one. It's a long season. Love to win the opener. Didn't happen for us, but still have quite a few more opportunities to get it going. So going to start this week and hopefully play really well in Green Bay.
There is Matthew Stafford after yesterday's game and Lions fall to the Bears. And one thing that kind of jumped out as well at me, Mike, when I looked at that game was they missed Kenny Golladay. Look, they scored 23 points, but there were times in that game where certainly I think Matthew Stafford would have looked at that mismatch that Kenny Golladay can provide and look for a play that can change a game, continue a drive, try to find a way. Look, I'm not saying that's the reason they lost the game, but I am saying that's a big part of their offense. A guy that's had 1,000 yards the last 2 years, and there were some critical times where I think he would have been a great look for Stafford.
Yeah, Kenny Golladay gets you big plays, but he doesn't do it as much with speed as he does with body control and overpowering. Catch high pointing balls and just being bigger, stronger, more powerful than a defensive backs. If you think about it, looks Quintez Cephas had a nice game for a 5th-round draft pick, but he had 10 targets and only 3 catches out of 10 targets. I'm not putting the loss on Quintez Cephas, don't get me wrong, but 10 targets for Kenny Golladay, that's probably 7 or 8 catches. It's just the way he's built, and he's a veteran. This is his 4th year. He gets to more balls than most receivers do. I like the way Cephas, I like the way they played him a lot, and I think he's going to be a good player for the Detroit Lions. But an opening day like that, a game you want to win, get out to a good start for your season, you want Golladay.
Yeah, no question. Credit to the guys on the offensive line. I mean, missing Big V, Halapuli Vaitai. They how about that? I thought they did a nice job. I thought Crosby had a penalty, but they did a nice job. They found a way to control Khalil Mack for the most part. He was not wreaking havoc in the backfield. I thought there were some good things coming out of that offensive line, and then opening holes up in the running game. And the bottom line's the bottom line, but if you're looking for things that they can carry forward, I think that's certainly part of it.
Yeah, certainly. That was one thing I worried about. I thought, that might be one of the weakest units on the team just starting out because they've got 2 new starters, and one of them, Vaitai, I'll let you pronounce the rest of it, didn't play. It had Terrell Crosby starting in his place, 3rd-year player, but still he's had limited game reps. I thought that was something to watch, and it really turned out to be something pretty good, I thought. I thought Frank Ragnow, the center, was terrific. I thought the left tackle, Taylor Decker, was really, really good, too. Those 2 guys, and don't get a big head out there, Lomas Brown, but they remind me of Lomas Brown and Kevin Glover coming up together, a couple decades ago. I think those are the kind of guys who can be foundation players for you.
Yeah, that's high praise. And that's a good defense they went up against. Yep. I mean, look, for the Bears, for all their troubles last year and going 8-8, it was mostly offensively. Their defense was still highly ranked in a lot of categories. So that's a good defense that they went up against. So they're going to face another good one coming up in Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay can get after the passer. They did a nice job in free agency before last season, bringing in the 2 Smiths and putting one on each side. And all of a sudden, those guys teamed up for a good number of sacks last year. So I think it's certainly going to be incumbent upon the Lions to bring that pass protection to Green Bay with them because they're going to need it against these guys as well.
Yeah, and they did a really good job, I think, against the Packers did against the Vikings in Minnesota. Now the final score may not look like that, but it was 29-10. Going I think early in the fourth quarter, and they're just kind of trading touchdowns there at the end. But that's a good ball club, the Packers. Just looking at them for one game, and maybe this is overreaction Monday evening, but they're better than I thought they'd be.
The Packers?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do on the first Monday after the regular season begins, aren't we? Overreact to everything. Tom Brady's not going to do anything in Tampa, right? That's what the conversation a lot of people are having. I thought that was going to be tough. The expectations on him going down there were so incredibly high to begin with.
No, I don't disagree with you, and I don't think he was the Tom Brady of his prime last year in New England, especially the last 4 or 5 games. You could see throws coming up short, and maybe not. He's not the most athletic quarterback to begin with, but maybe even lost a little bit of tread on the tire there. So I'm not surprised if he just has a pretty good year in Tampa. Just a pretty good year.
43 years old, man. It's tough to play quarterback in the NFL at 43. I mean, for everything he has done, which is the greatest of all time, it's tough to play quarterback in this league at the age of 43.
And to take it down, a decade younger. What about Cam Newton? What he did, running the ball 14 times, 15 times.
Are you surprised? I mean, it was the Dolphins, but are you surprised Belichick won? I mean, it's just what he does, man. It's just what he does, and we're gonna have to wait and see. I think it's one of the fascinating storylines to follow is how Belichick does with a bunch of guys that opted out. His quarterback left. He brings in Cam Newton. I think it's going to be really fun to watch how he puts that thing together, and he's going to obviously face much more significant tests than the Dolphins along the way. But I think it's going to be really cool to watch. All right, hang in there, Mike. We're going to come right back in just a second. Close this show out. Mike O'Hara on the other side. I'm Dan Miller. This is Lions Review. Glad you're with us. Final thoughts right after this.
to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Matthews got it, wants to throw, looks, pumps, throws, end zone. It is caught.
Yes.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. T.J. Hockenson. Again, the big guy's giving Stafford time, and Hawkinson's having himself a day.
And like I say, guys need to make plays for the quarterback. And that was a nice play by T.J. Hockenson, readjusting to the ball because the ball is thrown behind him. But a nice adjustment for him to come back and get that ball, fielding off the defensive back.
And let me tell you, Deshaun Gibson has terrific coverage. That's
all
just
over.
Hockenson
Absolutely.
boxing the man out like it's basketball,
There
and
you
Stafford
go.
threw him open.
There you go.
And as we return to Lions Review, that a touchdown from yesterday's game brings us to the call of the game, sponsored by Ring Central, official partner of the Detroit Lions. Ring Central, message, video, phone, together. Michael, call of the game right there, right?
Yeah, I thought that was a really nice call by Darrell Bevel. I really thought it was the call of the game. And it's sort of like if it was golf and you had a birdie or something, it kind of validated the touchdown they scored right at the end of the first half and then built on it on the first possession of the second half. And what I liked was the way they put, as I recall now, T.J. Hockenson in motion left, sort of set and then shot out. And I think it really kind of caught Chicago Bears defense flat-footed. It was, I don't know if that's exactly the way it was designed, but it sure looked like it. Good play by TJ to catch it. Good throw, good read by Matthew Stafford. And it gave them increase their lead.
It did.
We thought they were putting them away right then.
Felt good for a minute, but it was good. But I just like the production from TJ. I like the way he looked. I like the way Matthew used him. 5 catches, 56 yards. I think I just looked it up. He's a weapon, man. You just got to figure out how to incorporate him and keep him going and get some of those mismatches.
You know, and Dan, one of the things he does when he catches the ball and turns upfield, he does it so smoothly with no wasted motion. He goes from running laterally, reach, grab, catch the ball, turn, and upfield for yardage. And as big as he is, 6'4", 250 or something like that, 252, he's got the advantage on everybody he plays against, as do really most tight ends. And this is not something that's unique to T.J. Hockenson, but really a asset to that offense. And look, I think he's going to build on his rookie season.
Yeah, I think the next step for him is becoming that weapon on third down, is becoming that guy that Stafford can look to, almost like Danny Amendola has been for a while.
Yep.
That guy that can be a mismatch and Stafford can really look to him and be like a safety valve for him.
And if they get all those guys in there together and the running game keeps going, let's see if Kerryon Johnson picks it up a little bit, they'll really have something to be contended with. And we'll see how far it carries them. They still got other areas of the team that need to be, shored up. But I have no worries about the offense. I really don't, barring injury, of course.
Michael, we will reconvene after the Packer game, and we'll see how this one goes in Green Bay. Hey, look, the history of this team is just when you think you know, you don't know. So let's see if they can go to Green Bay and surprise some people. That's going to do it for this edition of Lions Review. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.